Back in 2004 and 2005, Michael Burry realized that the numbers of the mortgage makes didn't add up. The subprime market was quite overvalued since these mortgages were given to the people with the high risk of default. Logically, that means that sooner or later the real estate market is going to crash, and concluded that the housing bubble will unlimitedly lead to the collapse of the US economy. Burry was the manager of the Section Capital, the hedge fund he founded a few years earlier. So in 2007, he shorted the market and put the bet against the subprime deals. And guess what? The market collapsed, and he made over the hundred of millions dollars. To most people, crises are bad. You lose your job, you might lose your clients, and overall, you wish that things return back as they were before. But to the rich and people who knows the systems works, the crisis is like the blessing that happens once in the decade, that provides you with an opportunity to make more money in a single year than you would in the decade. Here in this video, we're going to take 3 ways that the rich make a fortune during the crisis. But before we start, if you want to support this channel and help us to make more videos and want your name at the end of the next video, make sure you check out your Patreon. And now let's go into The Big Short. Most people know 1 or 2 ways to manage money in the stock market, and it's by the buying low and the selling high. There is nothing wrong with that, but if you dig a little deeper into the stocks market, you will find out that there is many other ways to make the fortune, especially during crises. One of the popular ways to shorten exactly what Michael Burry did. Let's say, for the sake example, Apple stock's price is $100 and you expect it to drop to $60 next month for one reason or another. There is how you make the money. You borrow that Apple stocks from your broker and sell it for the $100. Congrats, you made $100. After 1 month, let's you predict turns out to be right, and the stock's price falls to $60. Using the $100 purchase on the Apple stocks for the $60 and give it back to your broker from whom you borrowed it in the months earlier. Suddenly, you arrived with the $40 in the pure profit without using a single penny of your pocket. You made the portions from the crash in the stocks. It sounds good on paper, but extremely risky, because if you make the wrong bet and the price rises instead of the theoretically, your losses can be unlimited. Nevertheless, it's an amazing tool to make the fortune during crisis. Let's say back in February you were reading the news and realizing soon enough and this virus is going to reach the United States and the country will have to lock down, since we are already in the brink of the financial crisis, and that is going to happen. The stocks market is going to crash. So you decided to short the market at its peaks. In a month later, in March, in the marketplace chase, and you make fortune. Did anyone do that? Yes. Hedge fund manager Bill Ackman from the turmoil on the Wall Street just recently did it. Ackman disclosed its shareholders later to investors in the perishing Square Capital management funds, and that he made 2.6 billion as the stocks fell. Overall, according to the Bloomberg, short sellers made over $50 billion in the cash. When the dot-com bubble crashed in 2001 and the S&P 500 fell by 11%, Michael Burry hedge fund Sainor was up 55%. Burry was able to achieve these results by the shorting overvalued tech stocks at the peak of the internet bubble. The next year, the S&P 500 fell again by the 22%, and the Sainor was up again 16%. The next year, in 2003, the stocks market finally turned around and rose 28%, but Michael Burry beat it again. His investments rose by 50%. The good news is that the market most probably will crash this year again, especially as we get closer to the second wave of this pandemic. By the way, I am going to put the course on the stocks market on our Patreon page, so if you want to take advantage out of the next crash, you might want to check out the course. You have a deeper understanding of the market. Second, the magic of the Fed, besides controlling the Fed, the job of the Federal Reserve is to prevent the economy from sliding into the recessions. And one way it does that by the lowering the interest rates. During the crisis or the recessions, the Fed or any central bank reduce interest rates to the bare minimum, sometimes to the 0% or even the negative percents where banks would pay to borrow money. Doesn't that sounds amazing? It might sound insane to some of you, but during economic turmoil, people are afraid to spend and invest and hold to their money. Negative interest rates are the way to encourage people to spend to get economy running again. There is the fantastic way to double or triple your wealth. Take these free loans and buy your competitors while they are bleeding in to dominate the market. When the pandemic is over, you will have the much larger market share and would quickly pay back that loan, especially since that loan was for free. Some people go as far as taking these free loans to invest heavily in the stocks market when prices are below the ground, and once they rise, sell your profit and pay back your debt. It might sound immoral, but the world of the businesses is all about competitions. You either keep fighting to stand your ground or get knocked out by your competitors, or the new startup that found the more innovative way to serve your customers. But the problem with it is that most poor people aren't going to take advantage of this negative interest rates since they don't understand how the economic machine works. If you just lost your job because of this pandemic, the last things you would do is to take another loan that you aren't sure you can pay back. Third, find a new trend into 2008. Many companies went out of the businesses and millions lost their jobs. And since it was the mortgage crisis, many lost their homes as well, while others found their ways to profit from the crisis. The CEO of the companies that went bankrupt left the companies with the bonds that reach hundreds of the millions of dollars. People at the bottom realized that the importance of the investing and having other source of the income other than their jobs. But in this complicated world of the stocks market, it seems like an average person will most likely to lose their money than make. On the top of that, brokers weren't cheap to make a deal and buy some stocks. You had to pay your broker $5, $10, or $15. Of course, if you are making the tens of the thousands of dollars, that's not a big deal. It's a peanut for you. But for amateurs who are just starting with the little to the few $100, $10 per trade is a lot. And that's the problem. Vladimir Tenev and Baigu Bat realized. Inspired by the events of 2008, they came up with Robinhood. In 2013, they founded the company and announced that Robinhood is going to be commission-free trading platform where anyone can pull out this smartphone and start investing as little as the few dollars. It was revolutionary. It inspired the new generation of the investors, encouraged people to put their money in the stocks market who never thought they would do that. The Robinhood began to grow tremendously. Year after year, the number of users hit the new record. In this last round of the raising funds, it was valued at $5.6 billion. Today it's probably much higher. It turned its founders into the billions within the few years. Crisis created new challenges and push up to find new, unique, innovative ideas to solve them. Their solutions can be turned out into the billion-dollar companies, and the rich people understand that. That's why they are focused on the two things: either solve these problems or find someone else who is already solving these problems and invest in them, because your tiny investments during the crisis will turn into the fortune after the crisis. This pandemic forced companies to come up with their new ways to create vaccines. We have created testable vaccines in just 42 days, which was never happened in history. Just think about what does that means for the pharmaceutical industry. Other businesses are finding different ways to enable their employees to work from home. Just think about what does it mean for the millions of the people around the world. Others are expanding their delivery infrastructure, so even after the pandemic, food and goods delivery will be faster and better. We will have to wait a couple of the years to realize the true innovations of these pandemics, as we did it in the previous crisis. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it thumbs ups, and if you are the new around here, then subscribe for the more similar videos. Don't forget to check out the Patreon page. Thanks for watching, and until next time.